At exactly 8 o'clock in the evening, something insane happened on TV. The news just barged in, totally serious, and announced something that shook the whole country. They said Lee Seo-jun, the S-class mage everybody loved, had died fighting some evil dragon in the middle of Seoul. They said the monster was called Cruz, and poor Seo-jun died trying to stop it. The guy was only 25 and had been out there saving the day since 2034, so everyone was totally gutted about it. The country even decided to build memorials for him everywhere. That's how much people respected the dude. While everyone else was freaking out, our protagonist, Kim Sun-woo, was just sitting all alone in his room. He turned off the TV with a shaky hand, looking like he had just seen a ghost. He was actually muttering to himself that this couldn't be real, and then he just flopped down on his couch like his legs gave up. Our MC's face was pure terror, bro. He kept telling himself this had to be some kind of fake news, but deep down he knew it was true. He couldn't stop thinking about Lee Seo-jun. That genius mage had always been the main character in this story, facing monsters, being a total legend, and, honestly, everyone thought he'd get a happy ending. Here's the wild part. Sun-woo knew Lee Seo-jun wasn't just some celebrity. He was the main character of a novel called The Modern Wizard. Sun-woo believed that if the plot just played like it should, everyone would survive, the story would end, and maybe, just maybe, he'd get to go back to his real world. But now, with the dragon and the death of the MC, all hope was gone. Our boy was really losing it, worrying what would happen to him now. No way was he ever seeing his friends again. Then, out of nowhere, his brain flashed back to this night in a bar with his friends. Someone at the table was asking if anyone would try to grab all the secret power-ups if they got stuck as a background character they possessed in a novel. One girl at the table said of course she would, no doubt about it. But Kim Sun-woo, yeah, our boy himself, totally disagreed and called that idea crazy. He explained that messing with the story for no reason would either just get you killed or cause the main character's death, which would basically be hitting the game over screen. He even admitted he wasn't sure he could handle all the pain and effort the real protagonist had to go through. And his friends actually agreed. Even if they made fun of him for being so negative, they all did a toast for his realism, but you know, kind of sarcastic. Then, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked it, and there was some weird winning event notification. His friend thought he was lucky, and the message said he'd won a ticket to a super special place, with an accept or decline button. Looking at that, of course, Sun-woo becomes all hype. The group started joking that maybe it was some big vacation prize. Getting a free vacation in Bali, for example, who doesn't want that? While he was still wondering if it was a trip overseas, he just went ahead and tapped the accept button. And just like that, 7 years ago, he fell into a magic circle and got thrown right into the world of The Modern Wizard, the actual book he loved so much. Now, sitting in his room, our poor guy was holding his head, super confused and in pain. He couldn't believe how messed up the story had become. He had always tried to stay out of the main story, just watching from the sidelines so nothing would get changed. But now, everything was wrong. While he was panicking, the TV started going all glitchy and shooting out weird sparks. He stood up, seriously worried, wondering why all this crazy stuff was happening at once. He didn't even have time to finish his thought. Suddenly, the sky cracked, and this bright light exploded out. He screamed like hell because he saw the world around him breaking apart. He even watched his own body start to fade as the whole city outside turned into shards of light. People, buildings, everything just fell apart like some insane video game glitch. He yelled, wondering why all this was happening. That's when a bunch of red system messages popped up in front of him, telling him the worst news ever. The messages explained that Lee Seo-jun had died. All the main storylines had failed. And because the story couldn't keep going, the system was going to reset the whole world. Dude, the world literally shattered around our MC like a broken mirror. He totally blacked out as everything crumbled away. And suddenly, the world became pitch black. Then, out of nowhere, he heard a sharp voice yelling at him to wake up because they had arrived at the academy. He opened his eyes and realized he was on a bus, with the driver shouting at him for taking too long to get off. Still in shock, our MC jumped up and apologized, wondering why the driver was calling him student. He got off the bus, totally confused. He was sure he'd been in his room just a second ago, so how the hell did he end up on a school bus? As he walked, he kept checking this place, trying to figure out if this was all just a dream from the world collapsing. The sunlight hit him right in the face, and he saw this huge building with banners everywhere, saying, "Welcome to the entrance ceremony for Korea Magic Academy, class of 2032. That was the place he'd already graduated from. Yeah, our boy was seriously about to lose his mind. He just stood there, frozen like a statue, with his mouth hanging open. The year was 2032? Yeah, 7 years back in the past. He checked his clothes and almost lost it when he saw the school uniform on his body. He stared at his hands, blinking like he'd just seen a ghost. And the truth started to hit him hard. He really had gone back in time. Loudspeakers started blasting all over the grand hall, welcoming the students and telling everyone to grab a seat for the entrance ceremony. Our MC walked through the sea of students, totally dizzy, muttering under his breath that this was way too much for his brain. He kept looking around, left and right, and every little detail was exactly how he remembered it from 7 years ago. At that point, he had to admit there was no escape. He was seriously back in the past. But right as he tried to wrap his head around all this, a giant question smashed into his mind. Why did Lee Seo-jun die in the future? In the novel, none of that was supposed to happen. The dragon attack, Cruz going berserk, all of that was just like the story. But the main character should have survived after a tough fight. Our MC's face went dark, looking super suspicious, and he realized something big was missing. There had to be some secret reason for Seo-jun's death that never showed up in the book. He then sort of crashed onto his seat, feeling like all the energy just leaked out of him. He whispered to himself that he had no idea what was going on. The poor guy sat there, thinking way too hard about what might happen if Lee Seo-jun died again in this new timeline. He got super anxious, wondering if he'd get sent even further back next time, or if maybe the world would just explode for real. One thing was crystal clear now. At all costs, Lee Seo-jun could not die. He clenched his fist, looking ready to fight a bear. The guy knew he had to actually do something in this life. No more hiding in the corner if he wanted to get back to his real world. He stared up at Lee Seo-jun at the front of the room with an intense face, making a promise to himself to keep that dude alive, no matter what. If he wanted to reach the end of the story, he had to work fast. So, our hero jumped right into action, deciding to get close to one of the other main characters. He waved at the girl sitting next to him and tried out his friendliest smile. Now, this girl? She was Yu-ara, the second-ranked student in the whole second year. She shot him this icy look and asked if he actually knew her, pretty much grumbling about how weird it was for him to act so familiar when they barely knew each other. RMC got thrown off by her attitude and just kind of sat there, confused. She asked if he had something to say to her. He stammered and said no, so she turned away and told him to stop staring, because it was making her uncomfortable. Our boy tried to laugh it off and wipe sweat from his face, but he could already tell getting close to these top students was going to be a nightmare. Before he could recover, the announcement called for the class reps to get up on stage. 3 students went up, while everyone started whispering and getting all excited. Every single eye in the room was glued to Lee Seo-jun, who was number 1 in the second year, and everyone kept talking about how amazing he looked and how he trained directly with the school chairman. Lee Seo-jun was already famous, and in the book, he was basically the super solo hero who did everything himself. The top girl from the first year also stepped up, looking super pretty and confident, but our MC could tell that her smile was totally fake. She was probably planning something big. The third rep was this senator guy who had been top of the class for 3 years straight, but honestly, he looked kind of ordinary, and our MC had to admit he didn't know much about him since he didn't really show up in the original story. The 3 reps stood up straight and got ready for the student oath. Meanwhile, our hero noticed that Yu-ara was shooting these sharp, angry glares at the stage. He figured this was his chance to look cool, so he leaned over and said out loud that it was a real shame. Yu-ara turned to him with laser eyes and asked if he was talking to her. He said yes. She got even more sarcastic and wanted to know what exactly was so sad. He pointed at the stage and told her he actually thought she was better than the 2 up there. She just rolled her eyes and told him he was hilarious, asking what he even knew and if he had ever seen those guys use magic before. He freaked out and waved his hands, saying no, but she scolded him for running his mouth about stuff he didn't understand. But our MC decided to play it cool, looked her in the eyes, and said he could just tell by looking, which made her stop and stare at him like he was some kind of pervert. Kim Sun-woo grinned and tried to show off, saying he had a 6th sense that was always right. But Yu-ara was not impressed. She glared at him and asked if he was making fun of her, and he tried to play it off, but that only made things worse. She sighed, looked away, and totally ignored him after that. Our MC realized, yeah, this approach was a total fail. So, the poor guy switched tactics. He suddenly asked if she had been worried about her career path lately. That made her freeze, and she secretly freaked out, wondering how he could possibly know that. She stared at his name tag, Kim Sun-woo, and then her eyes flashed this creepy glare. She said in the coldest voice ever that she remembered his name now, but warned him not to talk to her ever again. Our boy just sat there, stunned and embarrassed, clapping his hands like he'd given up. He had to admit, man, he totally crashed and burned at making friends with the important people. Rough start for our hero, but hey, at least he's trying. Anyway, the new semester kicked off with the dreaded placement test, which was basically a big show where every student had to prove how good they really were in front of the whole school. The vibes? Total panic. Some guy was nearly crying to his friend, telling him there was no way he could compete with all these monsters, while the friend tried to calm him down and said it was going to be fine. But our hero, Kim Sun-woo? Oh, this dude was just chilling with a cocky grin, watching everyone freak out and thinking they were nothing but a bunch of cute kids. This life, he wants to be in the top 10 for the second year, because last time around, the man got offers for B rank promotion, but because he didn't want to stand up, he stuck to his C rank. No way was he going to act basic now and embarrass himself in front of these scrubs. That would have stung his pride too much. Asura, sitting nearby, spotted that weird smile and whispered under her breath, wondering what the hell was up with this guy. Our MC just got ready to show everyone what a real pro looked like. The show started with the first-year rep. This girl stepped up, blasted her magic with crazy speed and power, and absolutely obliterated the training dummies, like, bro. There was nothing left but smoke. The students freaked out, saying she was insane for her age. Then it was time for the second years. Asura got called up. She walked out like she owned the place, set her palm on fire, and exploded the target dummy in a flash of flames and flying debris. Everyone lost it, asking each other if she was really their age or some kind of legend in disguise. One guy told his buddy that Asura was basically a legend, but nobody could ever outshine Lee Seo-jun. He always stole the spotlight no matter what. Right on cue, Lee Seo-jun stepped up, pulled out his sword, and pretty much turned into a flash of light. Dude zipped around the dummies so fast that no one could keep up, shredding them with perfect moves. The whole school went nuts. Meanwhile, our boy Kim Sun-woo checked Asura's face and saw that she was dying inside from jealousy. No matter how awesome she was, first place always got snatched away by Seo-jun and his pro-level skills. Tough world out here, man. Finally, the teacher called out the last name, Kim Sun-woo, Class A. Our guy jumped up with a huge grin and said, finally, it was his time to shine. The teachers all looked confused, wondering who the hell this kid even was, since nobody really remembered him from last year. Even his own teacher had to double-check the records. She found he was supposed to be good at reinforcement magic, but she was surprised to see him step up without any weapon to buff. The teachers figured maybe he'd changed over to manifestation magic, like some students did. Our MC walked up to the line, stood in front of the dummies, and started charging up blue energy in his hand. The teacher mumbled about how some students just picked whatever was cool instead of what they were actually good at. Her friend agreed, but then she went quiet. Something was weird about this kid. The energy in his hand started spinning at insane speed, and the teacher had to ask herself if he was using the compressed manifestation technique. It's supposed to be the first real step of manifestation magic, but even the old pros were scared to try it. A second year pulling this off? Unheard of. Asura's eyes went wide, and even Mr. Superstar Lee Seo-jun finally looked surprised. The teachers were freaking out quietly, not believing what they saw. Then, boom, a blue energy beam shot out from our MC's hand, blasting across the room toward the targets. The whole place went silent watching those dummies. But then, instead of a giant explosion, the magic fizzled out with this weak, sad little pop. The whole room just lost it laughing. The other students roasted him, saying he ran out of mana and what was the point of all that hype if he couldn't even finish. Ouch. That had to hurt. Our poor MC just stood there, frozen, dying of embarrassment and thinking he was totally doomed. But then, out of nowhere, blue windows started popping up in front of his face. The guy freaked out inside, wondering why the system had to show up right at that moment. Later, he was lying on his bed, sighing with relief that the madness was finally over. He was so shocked the system windows came up so early. Last time, it took forever to unlock this stuff. He couldn't figure out why it was different now. He flashed back to the test, remembering how those system messages kept appearing. The system said it unlocked outsider benefits and was now fully activated. The main scenario finally began, and our MC bagged an achievement called Second Round of Life, which dropped him 3,000 points. Then, just to rub it in, he got a weird achievement called Clown Talent, worth 5,000 points. Apparently, 232 people remembered his face now, and that got him another 1,000 points, while he was literally running away from everyone laughing at him. Even more nuts. The system said Lee So-jun and 4 other main characters were now interested in him, and that was another 3,000 points. The poor guy sat on his bed, looking at his total. 10,000 points in no time. He realized he needed those outsider benefits to use them, but that's a special cheat only he had for being a possessed person in this world. He could open windows, check stats, rack up points from achievements, and get bonus fame points every time he became more notorious. But the best part? The point shop. That's where he could buy traits, skills, and items. Our boy grinned, thinking this was totally overpowered and, honestly, pretty unfair. That's life for you, man. Sometimes you bomb in front of everyone, and sometimes you just level up like crazy. Despite feeling pretty good about all those points he just got, but then he remembered that title, Clown Talent. That one hurt. He started picturing himself in full clown gear, all while the whole school pointed and laughed. And dude, he finally realized why his magic flopped so hard in front of everyone. Back at this point in the timeline, his mana was totally garbage. No wonder his spell fizzled out like a wet firecracker. It sucked, but he had to admit, this was the first time he ever got so much attention in both his lives. At least he got points, but he still wasn't sure if he could accept being called a clown. Trying to move on, our boy decided he better check his stats, so he asked the system to open up his status window. The screen popped up, name, points, all that stuff, but then he saw his numbers and totally freaked out. Health at 42, strength just 34, and mana, a sad little 21. The guy just started screaming inside, wondering where all that hard work from his past life went. All his stats were reset to square one. Our MC was trembling, suffering a full heartbreak, and asking himself how long it was going to take to get those numbers back up. But then he just stopped cold. Suddenly, his eyes lit up like he'd just solved a puzzle. If everything got wiped, then that meant he could actually build his stats however he wanted this time. This was a golden chance, bro. He started thinking about the 4 kinds of magic in this world: reinforcement, manifestation, support, and summoning. Reinforcement made your body and weapons super strong for up-close fighting. Manifestation was the classic style, where you blast out spells. Summoning called all sorts of creatures, and support gave magic boosts or help. Sun Wu always picked manifestation, just because it looked flashy and cool. Yeah, that was kind of a shallow reason, and it made him laugh a little, but hey, he liked what he liked. So, he decided right then, Monostat was going to be his #1 focus. Out of nowhere, the system butted in with an update. Now 350 people remembered his face, and that scored him 1,000 more points. He just stared, totally shocked. How did that number go up by a lot already? Then it hit him. Acting like a clown in the test made him famous, even if it was for something dumb. But points were points, and our MC was starting to think this was a pretty sweet deal. He even gave himself a big thumbs up, thinking this was actually awesome. Before he could even finish feeling proud, bam, another system window popped up. Now it said 400 people remembered his face, and he got another 2,000 points. That just blew his mind, bro. There weren't even that many students at the academy. How could so many people know about him already? He grabbed his phone and checked out the Great Sage Forest, the Academy's online community. And there it was, a video blowing up called Crazy S-Class Mage Scandal. People were posting comments non-stop, making fun of him left and right, and some even said he must have paid his way in. That was rough, not gonna lie. But the system handed him another 5,000 points for the chaos. In the end, he just grinned. If people wanted to keep watching and trolling, he was totally fine with it as long as he got more points. He stared at his phone, eyes sparkling, already planning what he could buy with all those points. The next day, our hero strutted into the academy. It was like he was wearing a clown sign. Everyone knew him from that viral video. Students were whispering the second he walked by, but he honestly didn't care. In fact, he was secretly hoping they'd talk even more, because every new view on that video meant more points for him. Once he remembered all the comments calling him weak or sick, he couldn't help but laugh. All that drama got him another 5,000 points, so why not enjoy it? He opened the classroom door, and for a moment, the place went dead quiet. Then the whispers started. Yep, everyone was talking about him again. Out of nowhere, this student pointed right at him, yelling across the room. The guy had blonde hair and just strolled up, threw his arm around Sun Wu's shoulder like they were buddies, but in a totally rude way. He started roasting Sunwoo for being so hilarious yesterday and said everyone laughed so hard thanks to him. His buddies in the back were cracking up too. Then another dude joined in, asking how Sunwoo ran out of mana so fast and joking about his family bribing the academy to get him in. Our MC knew exactly who this blonde punk was, Park In-hwan, the classic bully from the original story. Sunwoo just sighed inside, knowing this dude was nothing but trouble, so he tried to give him the cold shoulder and ignore him. But Park In-hwan wasn't letting go. He squeezed Sunwoo's shoulder even harder and got right in his face, calling him dumbass. He told Sunwoo that from now on, he had to run over the second someone called him, or else he would make his life a living nightmare at school. Pretty messed up, honestly. Just as things were about to get bad, a calm but strong voice called out, telling that brat to knock it off. Everyone turned. Lee So-jun was standing there, looking all serious, and he told him that he had already warned him about bullying people. In-hwan looked super annoyed, but he backed off, throwing some shade at Seo-jun for trying to act like the hero and saying that weaklings like them just needed to obey. He shot Sunwoo one last death glare, then grabbed his gang and stormed out, leaving the classroom feeling super tense. The other students started whispering again. Lee So-jun turned to Sunwoo, asking if he was alright. Sunwoo kept it short and thanked him, but Seo-jun kept talking, wanting to check if he was really the guy from the viral video everyone was talking about. That made Sunwoo laugh awkwardly and try to play it cool, but inside, he was dying of embarrassment, wondering how he was supposed to live with this much shame following him around now. Seo-jun noticed he was stressing hard, so he reassured him there was no need to freak out about it. All the blame belonged to whoever posted that video, not to Sunwoo himself. After that, Seo-jun started walking out, but Sunwoo decided he wasn't letting this chance slip away. He called out to Seo-jun, all serious, and out of nowhere, our MC hit him with a wild request. He wanted to team up for the next class project. Sunwoo's eyes had this hungry, gotta-win shine, like he really believed this was his golden shot to stick close to the main character. Seo-jun's face? Man, the dude was just confused. He wanted to know why the last place guy would even pick him. Our protagonist stepped in closer, rocking a sly little smile, and whispered that teaming up would actually help Seo-jun too. You could tell Seo-jun was not expecting this. He just stood there for a full second, hand on his chin, looking like he was trying to figure out if Sunwoo was trolling him or not. After thinking it over, he lifted his hand and politely told our MC that, honestly, he'd never really thought about picking him for a team. Ouch. But you think Sunwoo was giving up that easy? No way, bro. He jumped straight back in, saying he had two really good reasons why Seo-jun should team up with him. That made Seo-jun pause, and he asked what those reasons were. He even cracked a little smile, like he was finally a tiny bit interested. First, Sunwoo held up a finger and said he was literally ranked dead last in all of second year. Seo-jun just started laughing, thinking that's a terrible reason. But Sunwoo was quick to explain, if the first-place student teams up with the last-place student, their group's points get a bonus right away because of how the scoring works. Now that got Seo-jun thinking. Yeah, the logic made sense, but he muttered that it still sounded risky to him. Sunwoo was ready. He hit him with the second reason. He pointed out that Ara, their biggest rival, had already picked 2 weak students for her team. He explained that Ara specialized in huge attack magic, so she could carry her squad even with those guys dragging her down, and Seo-jun had to agree with that one. Right when Seo-jun thought Sunwoo was done, our boy threw up 3 fingers instead of 2. Seo-jun blinked, like hold up, weren't there just 2 reasons? Sunwoo grinned super wide, pointed at himself with his thumb, and said the best reason. He actually had real skills. Even if he was last place on paper, bro, that got Seo-jun laughing hard. He told him that he was way more interesting than he looked, and right then and there, he agreed to form a team. Sunwoo was practically screaming with joy inside, already imagining his stats flying up. But of course, there was a catch. Seo-jun quickly said he had a condition. He wanted to pick who else would join their team. He even grabbed Sunwoo's hand for an official handshake, asking if that was cool with him. Right at that moment, a system window popped up to say that Lee Seo-jun was now deeply interested in our MC, and Sunwoo got hit with a clean 2,000-point bonus. Did he mind the condition? Nope, not at all. The poor guy would have probably agreed to anything right then. The story jumped to the next class, where the teacher started a lecture about magic artifacts and how things used to work back in the day. She asked the class why the old system failed and fell apart. Sunwoo shot his hand up like a rocket, totally confident. He started explaining, super clearly, that Holgum was the first reinforcement mage in the 18th century and that his appearance flipped everyone out. Old school mages thought manifestation magic was number one, but Holgum's skills made everyone rethink everything. His answer was so good, the teacher gave him props right in front of everyone. Sun Wu sat back, looking all smug. He thought to himself that these old magic theories and formulas were supposed to be hard, even for genius types like Seo Jun. But for him, his outsider system just spat out all the answers and even explained the tough parts, so he could ace anything, no sweat. He smiled to himself, knowing the written exams would be easy money. But yo, the haters in the back row noticed. They started whispering, calling him Hermione for being a nerd, and wondering why he even bothered studying so hard when he always came in last on tests. Sun Wu heard all that, and he just muttered under his breath that if they were so salty, they should say it to his face instead of acting like jealous cowards. Class ended, and the teacher dropped the lunch break announcement. Everybody made a break for the cafeteria. Sun Wu was about to just wander off solo like always, but someone called his name. He spun around. It was Seo Jun, looking way friendlier now and asking if he wanted to grab lunch together to celebrate their new team. That sounded almost too good to be true. While they were hunting for a table, another dude started waving like crazy from across the room. It was Shin Young-jun, one of the OG main characters and Seo Jun's old buddy. He welcomed Seo Jun, joked about him being late, and then finally noticed Sun Wu tagging along. But suddenly, Young-jun recognized Sun Wu's face and pointed, saying he was the guy from that viral clown video. Sun Wu admitted it, kind of dying inside but trying to act chill. Young-jun wondered when the two became close friends, and Seo Jun explained they just made a deal. They were going dungeon diving together the day after tomorrow. That news made Young-jun super confused. He leaned in to whisper, asking Seo Jun if he seriously believed he could take first place without getting that bonus from teaming up with the last place guy, and why he was making things so complicated. Seo Jun's face went totally serious. He explained that Yu-ara was out for blood this time, and she'd already picked 2 weaklings for her squad to boost her own score. That bit of news hit Young-jun like a punch, bro. She was really intense this time. Seo Jun agreed that Yu-ara really was a piece of work with her sharp attitude, so at least they were on the same page there. As they were eating, a super pretty student looked up at their table. She was the first-year representative student, and suddenly froze when she noticed Seo Jun talking with Sun Wu. Who's the guy from that clown video in Great Sage Forest? Her friend asked what she was staring at. But this girl, Seo Yuna, just threw on the fakest smile and said it was nothing at all. Bro, she tried to act all cool, but as soon as her friend looked away, her face switched up. She was now full-on suspicious, side-eyeing Sun Wu like she was trying to figure out how this loser got close to Lee Seo-jun. Our MC was starting to build a reputation, but maybe not the one he wanted. Later, it was time for training at the hall. Everyone was practicing magic, and Sun Wu was off in his own little world, determined to finally pull off his spell right. He put everything into focusing his mana. This time, he wanted to nail both the gathering and the release, not just mess up and embarrass himself again. He made blue energy swirl in his hand, then launched it like a boss. The shot hit the target dead on, stable and clean. The other students in the hall started whispering, surprised that Kim Sun-woo didn't suck as much as they thought. Some even admitted he was actually pretty decent. Our MC just wiped sweat off his forehead, wearing this sarcastic little smirk. In his head, he joked that he could hear every word they said about him. Haters gonna hate, but at least they were talking. While he was riding that high, Sun-woo's mind flashed back to his old life, thinking about how he used to spend his system points. Back then, he'd just buy stats directly. Seemed simple, right? But of course, life wasn't so easy. Every 10 times he bought a stat, the price went up by 10 points. Kind of like how games make leveling up harder and harder. So, he realized just maxing out his stats like that would burn through his points way too fast. Not smart. He figured out he needed a better long-term plan. Instead of wasting points, he decided to look for traits or items that would boost his mana the smart way. He opened up the point shop and searched for mana. There were a ton of options, but he was hunting for one special trait from the original novel. And boom, there it was. Nature's Protection. Grade A. This thing gave him passive mana absorption from nature, and when he used the active skill Nature's Blessing, he could boost his mana gain by up to 150%, depending on where he was. The price? 50,000 points. Ouch. But our MC didn't even flinch. He bought it right away. Not stopping there, he picked up the Returner's Watch, a grade B item that let his health and mana recover crazy fast, 200% faster than normal. To afford all this, he had to sell off his Master of Cooking trait, grade A, which he inherited in this life, because, well, the system also lets him sell traits. He was a little salty about losing his chef skills, but honestly, he knew this trade was worth it. With his new setup, he was way ahead of where he was last time around. Out of nowhere, his phone buzzed, snapping him out of his thoughts. Weird, since nobody ever called him. He checked and saw he'd been added to a chat group called Group 3, the team for the big project. The group had Jung Jin-tae, Lee So-jun, Yoon Ha-young, and Shin Ji-hyuk. Sunwoo barely recognized any of them except Yoon Ha-young, and she was a minor character at this point, but he knew she'd become super important later on. Seo-jun kicked off the chat, asking everyone to list their main magic type so they'd know their roles. One by one, people answered. Shin Ji-hyuk said he did support. Yoon Ha-young said she was all about ice magic, and Jung Jin-tae was into reinforcement. When it was Sunwoo's turn, he just wrote that he did manifestation with no element. Then Ji-hyuk dropped a snarky reply. He joked that the whole school already knew that thanks to the viral video. That stung, not gonna lie. Sunwoo got annoyed, pressed his phone way too hard, and told them he was just stating facts. After that, he leaned back and started planning. With Lee So-jun as the main attacker, everyone else could support, but to win first place, they'd need to destroy Yu-ara's team. Our boy was seriously curious about who she picked for her squad. Meanwhile, out in the training yard, Yu-ara was going totally nuts with her magic. She blasted a fire spell so brutal that the watching students basically freaked out, calling her insane. The teacher watched, gave her some tips. She said Ara was great at control, but needed to focus more on raw power and making her spells go faster. Even though the teacher admired Yu-ara's talent, she noticed the girl was still a little rough around the edges. But hold up, the teacher suddenly turned in shock as another spell shot across the yard. It was Sunwoo again, nailing a perfect magic beam, super controlled and precise. The teacher actually looked impressed. She remembered how Sunwoo used to mess up at the release stage, but now, even with barely any mana, he was pulling off the optimal balance. The teacher thought to herself that it was pretty wild for a student this young to spot his own biggest flaw and actually fix it. After that, the teacher said that the class was finally over, and you could see the relief on everyone's face. The students just dipped out of there as fast as possible, totally wiped from all the training. Our boy, Sunwoo, was ready to head out himself, but just as he tried to leave, the teacher called him back. She walked up to him, looking pretty interested, and asked if he had been training lately. He told her yeah, he'd been putting in the work in his free time. The teacher kept pressing, this time about mana cultivation, and said he definitely did that too, right? Man, our MC knew immediately she figured out his weak spot. Dude had some fancy technique, but his mana was still kind of trash. He admitted she was right. Instead of roasting him, the teacher gave him a soft smile and started with some advice. She told him that getting more mana isn't about cheap tricks. It takes a ton of effort and patience. Sunwoo got all fired up and said he was ready to grind it out, but before he could go full motivational speech, the teacher stopped him. She pulled out a little bracelet and handed it over, saying it was a training tool to help control mana breathing and keep his body in shape. Our MC just stared at it, super awkward, and asked if he was really allowed to take something like that. The teacher just laughed and told him not to worry. It was only an F-rank tool she made for practice. Nothing special. Sunwoo thanked her, promising to put it to good use, and the teacher waved him off. As soon as he got out into the hall, our guy was hyped about his new loot. But then, out of nowhere, he spotted Yu-ara standing against the wall, giving him that legendary death stare. Sunwoo tried to break the ice and joked if he was finally allowed to talk to her again, since last time she shut him down hard. Yu-ara wasn't here for jokes. She just glared at him and asked if it was true he joined Lee Seo-jun's team. Bro. She basically accused him of using Lee Seo-jun to boost himself up the ladder, and said, straight up, that first place was hers this time, no matter what. She told him he needed a reality check, then stormed off, leaving our MC just standing there, totally lost, and seriously wondering why she hated him so much. Fast forward to Thursday morning, Sunwoo was running to the meeting spot at the edge of the forest, nearly late but made it just in time. Lee So-jun was already there, greeting everyone with his usual confident, friendly smile. He pointed out this was the first time the whole team got together and told them to do their best for the semester. The team got hyped up, but Shin Ji-hyuk, of course, had to act like a clown, saying it was weird to have both the first place and last place students on the same team. Then he threw shade at Sun Woo, bringing up that whole disaster during the last test where he couldn't even cast a spell. Sun Woo stared back at him, dead cold, knowing this dude was trying to get under his skin. Young Jin-tae jumped in, laughing it off and saying, since Lee So-jun picked Sun Woo for the team, he could be the one to babysit him. Our boy just shot Ji-hyuk a dirty look and realized this guy was just planning to coast and let So-jun carry him. No effort at all. While that little drama played out, Yoon Ha-young walked up to Seo-jun with a gentle smile, asking how he was doing. Sun Woo watched her and thought it was kind of wild, since in the original story, she didn't really get her big moment until way later. The whole team lineup was way different from before, and that made our MC even more nervous. He started stressing about whether this test would go smoothly with all these weird team members. Right then, the teacher called for everyone's attention and started explaining how the dungeon exploration would work. The class was split into morning and evening shifts, but since it was day one, they would only go down to the first basement floor. The teacher broke down the scoring system. The faster your team cleared the dungeon, the more bonus points you got. Then there were these rank adjustment points, which meant Seo-jun picked Sun Woo to get more points for carrying a lower-ranked teammate. Finally, they had contribution points, so whoever did more in the fight would score extra, since the dungeons tracked that stuff automatically. All the students started getting hyped, shouting and cheering. The teacher finished up by telling everyone to enter as teams and reminded them to stay safe above all. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, Teacher Jang strolled in late. The other teachers were all ready to start their usual betting game over which team would score the highest. But it was a joke. Everyone picked Ura's team, so there was no real competition. When Jang picked her group too, the whole bet was basically dead. But then, out of nowhere, the teacher who gave Sun Woo the bracelet raised her hand with a confident grin and said she would take the bet and pick Group 3, Lee So-jun's squad. Hearing that, Teacher Jang just could not believe it. He tried to explain, saying sure, both teams had strong leaders, but when you looked at the bottom-ranked kids on each side, Ura's team was just way better overall. Then he got a bit technical about it, going on about how Lee So-jun was a beast at reinforcement magic. But that kind of skill was all about solo fighting, not taking on crowds. Seo-jun would have a hard time against big mobs if his team wasn't strong. To prove his point, he even showed everyone how Ura was basically destroying everything in her path with massive magic and was already halfway through the first floor. But the teacher just smiled and said she still believed in the rebellion of the last place underdog. She told them all to just keep watching and see what happens. Honestly, gotta respect her confidence. Back in the dungeon, So-jun was definitely showing everyone why he's the top guy. He just walked up and sliced a huge monster in half with one swing. His team was feeling pretty good, following close behind him like they were on a field trip with Superman. Ji-hyuk, being his usual hype man self, started bragging about how fast they were moving and joked about what kind of boss would even be on the first floor. He was sure it was going to be some weakling, and the other dude went along with the joke. Ha-young wasn't so sure though. She looked a little worried and asked Sun Woo what he thought. Our boy just hit her with a cool look and said he expected a giant wolf to show up. Ji-hyuk stopped and glared at him, acting like Sun Woo was just making stuff up. He hit him with a suspicious stare and demanded to know how he could possibly know that. Sun Woo just shrugged and told him it was a secret, but inside, he was laughing because, come on, he literally lived through this mess already. Ji-hyuk started laughing like Sun Woo was a certified liar and tried to annoy him even more, acting all childish and asking if he was mad. That's when Seo-jun stepped in and told them both to cut it out and keep moving. Ji-hyuk grumbled but listened. Then suddenly Seo-jun froze in his tracks and told everyone to stop. The whole team looked at him, totally confused. He had spotted something weird on the ground, a glowing blue magic circle. The team all crowded around but nobody could figure out what it was. Jin-tae got nervous and started asking what a magic circle was doing there and whether it was dangerous. Ji-hyuk insisted there was no way the academy would put something that deadly in the training dungeon. Sun Woo, being the only one with a clue, got down on one knee to check it out, even though Seo-jun warned him to be careful. Sun Woo just told him to relax. He was only taking a look. And right away, he realized this circle wasn't dangerous at all. It was just a simple barrier. Ji-hyuk kept giving him the stink eye, acting like there was no way he could know that, but Sun Woo was totally sure. So, he put his hand right on the barrier to prove his point. Everyone started freaking out a bit, thinking maybe the barrier meant they'd have to turn around and find another way. But Seo-jun wasn't about to let some blue circle stop him. He drew his sword and told everyone to stand back, then started charging up with that crazy golden aura of his. He swung down hard, causing a huge boom and sparks everywhere, and even managed to crack the barrier a little. Ji-hyuk and Ha-young cheered, thinking they were about to break through, but of course when the smoke cleared, the barrier was still sitting there like nothing happened. You could see the disappointment all over their faces. Seo-jun wasn't ready to give up though. He just readied his sword again, and said he could do it if he focused more. But then Ji-hyuk decided it was finally his time to shine. He stepped forward, acting all smug about being the support guy, and said to, "Wait a sec." He touched the magic circle, but right away, he realized it was way more complicated than he thought. He started mumbling about how normal methods would take 40 minutes to solve this thing. Sunwoo just rolled his eyes and said he'd handle it. Ji-hyuk flipped out, yelling at him to stop and asking what the hell he was doing. But Sunwoo ignored him and activated his outsider benefits. The system lit up instantly. Little digital screens popped up in front of his face, and the magic formula got broken down in record time. The magic became like a puzzle word, so our boy could easily complete the puzzle and break the barrier. In one smooth move, he triggered the barrier and it split open with a flash of blue light, clearing the path. The whole team just stood there, totally stunned, as the barrier faded away. Sunwoo turned back to them like a boss and told them he was done. Seo-jun and Ji-hyuk looked at him like he just did a magic trick, completely in shock and wondering how the hell he solved it that fast. Right then, a big system window popped up, telling him that Lee Seo-jun was amazed by him and his interest had gone up. Apparently, Seo-jun's interest level reached level 1 and the system dropped 5,000 points in his account. Our MC just stood there, super confused, thinking to himself what this interest level even was. Anyway, at the top of the stairs, a giant wolf suddenly popped out from the shadows. This thing looked totally ferocious, like it was ready to eat someone for breakfast, and the whole team just froze. Everyone turned to look at Kim Sunwoo, thinking about how he had totally called this, like, dude, how did he know there would be a wolf boss? But there was no time to freak out, because the wolf jumped at them with insane speed. Just when things were about to get messy, Seo-jun leapt into action. He jumped into the air, swinging his sword like some kind of anime hero, and boom! One crazy fast move and the wolf went down. Hard. Seo-jun landed like he did this every day, and the huge wolf crashed behind him, totally finished. Honestly, that was sick. Everyone's fear disappeared instantly, and Ha-young actually started laughing, saying beating the floor boss was so easy it was almost boring. The test was over, so the whole team walked out through the dungeon gate, ready to hear the results. Their teacher met them outside, looking pretty satisfied, and told them Group 3 got second place for the first week. Everyone was excited for a second, until Seo-jun looked shocked and asked who got first. The teacher told him Group 7, led by Yu-ara, finished a whole 30 minutes before they did. Seo-jun could only give a bitter smile, realizing Yu-ara's team was no joke. The team started stressing out, especially since Yu-ara's group beat them by a whole 30 minutes, where the third place was right behind them. Seo-jun turned to Sunwoo and put his hand on our boy's shoulder, telling everyone it was Sunwoo's skills that saved their time. Sunwoo tried to say the credit wasn't his, but Seo-jun was not having it, insisting that if Sunwoo hadn't broken that magic barrier so fast, they'd be way behind. He then started blaming himself for not pushing harder for first place, but Ha-young jumped in and told him it wasn't fair to blame himself. Our MC, trying to be wise for a sec, got everyone together and said they shouldn't worry. This was just the first floor in the first week, and there were still plenty of chances to turn the tables. Just as they were about to leave, there were loud footsteps, and a teacher with bright red hair showed up, calling out Sunwoo's name. He recognized her right away. It was the teacher in charge of the support magic department. She marched over, looking like she meant business, and told him she had a special offer for him. Then, out of nowhere, she grabbed his hand with crazy energy and told him to transfer to the support department immediately. Our poor guy was just standing there, totally shocked, not getting what was happening. He pulled his hand back and coolly told her he wasn't interested. The teacher exploded, yelling that he couldn't just say no like that and needed to at least hear her out. She went all in, offering a special scholarship for talents worth 50 million won. But Sunwoo kept his face blank and told her, "Nope, still not interested." You should have seen the faces on his teammates. Ji-hyuk and the others looked at him like he was out of his mind. Even random students started whispering, saying he sucked at manifestation magic anyway, and anyone else would jump at an offer like that. But our MC just stood there, not saying a word, not moving an inch. Right then, Ara joined the conversation. She asked if he was really sure he didn't want to switch, pointing out that support talents get tons of benefits besides just the money. Sunwoo turned to her, gave a confident smile, and thanked her, but said he'd stick with manifestation magic. Ara just stared, totally confused about why this guy wanted to stay in a field he clearly wasn't mastering. Dude, she did not get it. Later, while Sunwoo was busy cleaning the corridor, Yuna came walking over with big, confident steps. She was surprised to see a student doing janitor work and greeted him cheerfully. Sunwoo looked up and answered her, super chill. Yuna called him Sunbae Kim Shin Wook, thinking she had his name right, but our MC just gave a weird smile and corrected her, saying he was Kim Sunwoo, not Shin Wook. She laughed it off and asked why he was cleaning. He told her the place was dirty, so he decided to clean it. Her eyes lit up, and she started praising him like he was some kind of hero, saying he had amazing morals and was such a kind person. She wished him a good day with a bright smile and walked away. As soon as she was out of sight, though, her face went totally bored, and she thought to herself that what Sunwoo was doing looked pointless on the surface. But then, boom, a system window popped up in front of Sunwoo's face, announcing he'd completed the Snail Bride achievement and gave him 1,000 points. Our MC laughed to himself, wondering how he could ever explain to anyone that he only cleaned for these weird system points. He finished up, grabbed his bucket, and left feeling pretty satisfied with himself. Right then, a random man peeked out from behind a wall, watching him with a genuine smile. After that, the story jumped to the lecture hall. The teacher was showing the class a big 3D image of some monster, going on about all the different types of monsters out there: human, beast, flying, and a bunch more. But then he got serious and said the most dangerous type of all were the demonized. He asked the class why they were so dangerous. Like always, Sunwoo raised his hand and answered confidently, saying it was because demonized can't be told apart from humans unless they reveal themselves or go nuts. The teacher praised him and explained that these monsters are basically pure evil, hiding in society, drinking blood, and controlling other monsters. He said you can't even detect them without special equipment. However, the easiest way to recognize them was sometimes, when they show their bloodlust, their eyes turn black. So everyone needs to be super alert every time so they won't get messed up by some demonized people. Suddenly, Sunwoo remembered the original story and realized that the demonized were supposed to show up at the end of this week. He knew it was the big event where Seojun would beat the enemy and get called a hero all over the news. He tried to chill, since he figured Seojun would handle it, but that old anxiety just wouldn't leave him alone. He kept remembering how Seojun died when fighting that freaky dragon and thought he'd better keep an eye out, just in case things got dangerous. But then, reality hit. If he wanted to tag along with Seojun on these outside missions, he needed cash. And bro, he did not have any. Later, our protagonist sat in his room, trying hard to meditate and build up his mana. There was this cool green glow all around as he worked on his breathing. Suddenly, the system popped up, telling him his mana went up by 0.02, and then gave him an extra 0.03 from his Nature's Blessing trait. Even better, the system said the trait efficiency just got a 12% boost. Sunwoo opened his eyes, feeling pretty proud. Finally, all that spare time training was paying off. He had actually collected a nice pile of mana now. He jumped up when a new window flashed in front of his face. The system told him his Nature's Blessing trait leveled up to rank 2. Not only that, but it unlocked a new power called Nature's Heart. Our MC grinned, thinking he totally made the right call buying this trait. He read the details and honestly couldn't believe it. Nature's Heart would boost his mana recovery speed by a wild 1000% for a whole minute, but only once every 24 hours. He realized this was his secret weapon for any big emergency when he desperately needed more mana. That was one lucky break, dude. Our boy stood there, soaking in the good news and feeling like he was born for this type of magic. But, of course, the good vibes didn't last. He suddenly remembered that super cringy scene when the support magic teacher grabbed his hand and begged him like a crazy fangirl to join her department. He let out a heavy sigh, thinking about that fat scholarship she offered. It really was tempting. Still, he opened his bank account just to check and nearly fell over when he saw he only had 30,000 won. Yep, broke as ever. Student life was brutal, bro. He started seriously brainstorming ways to make money. Maybe he could go into a dungeon and hunt down some monsters, then sell their loot for cash. But he realized that was way too risky right now. Then he thought about climbing a tower. He figured he could probably handle the easy levels no problem. But bad news, he was still a minor and didn't even have a mage license, so legally, he couldn't go there. Our MC was about to give up when a genius idea hit him. Right after that, the scene cut to the teachers hanging out in the faculty room, starting to gossip about a hard-working student who was making waves lately. One teacher brought up Kim Sun-woo from second year, saying this dude came in before everyone else just to clean up the halls for free. Another teacher said Sun-woo was always paying attention and joining in during class, and that his attitude was just straight up amazing. The manifestation magic teacher laughed, calling it typical for their department, and even joked about how the support teacher tried and failed to steal Sun-woo away. All the teachers agreed. Students like him were rare these days and, honestly, pretty refreshing. Meanwhile, our MC was chilling in the hall, laughing to himself like an evil mastermind. He just unlocked a new achievement, student beloved by teachers, and the system handed him a sweet 2,000 points. He was on top of the world. Right away, he opened up the point shop and started searching for a certain item. He found just what he wanted and spent a massive 10,000 points, basically everything he had, for one special thing. He sat there with a sneaky grin, already plotting how he was going to milk this investment for every single coin and point he could get. Fast forward to Saturday morning, and Sun-woo was standing outside some giant tower. He was in full disguise, regular clothes, sunglasses, the whole deal. He walked up to the guard, who told him to show his mage license. Sun-woo whipped out an ID card and said his name was Kim Jin-woo, a 5-year-old class mage. The guard stared at the card, then at Sun-woo, then back at the card, looking a little suspicious. Our MC's heart was pounding so loud he thought the guard might hear it, and behind those shades, his eyes were jumping all over the place. But the guard checked the data, handed the card back, and suddenly gave him a big welcome. Sun-woo was ready to pass out from relief. He thanked the guard and headed inside, wiping sweat off his forehead and thinking he dodged a bullet there. He looked at the fake ID. This was the thing he bought from the point shop a few days ago, and it wasn't just any fake. It was a magical license with special runes, so no one could ever tell it was a fake, not even with magic. That was 10,000 points well spent, if you ask me. He also put on some magic glasses that changed his eye color and face, making sure nobody could recognize him. With his cover looking perfect, our hero strutted toward his destination, checking his schedule and planning the day. The plan was simple: finish his tower business fast, then rush over to the Han River to catch Lee So-jun's big fight with the demonized human. He then strolled through the giant gates of the Tower of Proof. The system popped up to welcome him, calling him by the fake name like everything was totally legit. He walked to the magical teleport area, and a window asked which floor he wanted. The highest option for his rank was the 27th floor, but our MC coolly picked the 10th floor instead. The system dropped a warning that this floor had been cleared before and rewards would be weak for a repeat, but our hero just grinned. He didn't care about ordinary rewards, he had way bigger plans. In a flash of light, he teleported up and arrived at the 10th floor. Now, this place looked easy, but trust me, it was way more cursed than it seemed. Apparently, in the original novel, a bunch of guilds skipped this floor because of all the dumb traps and complicated magic. The monsters? Not even that strong. Sun-woo took a few steps, and right away, this giant three-eyed monster came charging out of the shadows. The thing barely had time to roar before our MC blasted it with one magic shot, dropping it dead instantly. The system rewarded him with a first hunt achievement and tossed him 1,000 points. Easy cash. The guy looked around, grinning. He got why nobody liked this place. The real threat wasn't the monsters, but all the crazy traps and magic all over the place. Good thing that's exactly what he was built for, right? He checked his watch and figured he had plenty of time to finish up before his next big event. Meanwhile, over at the Han River, things were getting crowded. People were everywhere, even though there was no festival going on. Youngjun and Seo-jun were there in the middle of it all. Youngjun wanted to take a selfie to remember the day. Seo-jun looked all awkward, but his buddy just dragged him into the photo anyway, snapping a fun shot of the two of them. A little break before things got real. Back inside the tower, our MC was handling things like a boss. He smoked another monster, which dropped a shiny red magic gem. He picked it up, whistling at his luck and thinking at least this would cover his travel money. Then he stopped at a totally normal-looking wall, except, nothing in a tower is ever that simple. He pressed his hand on a certain spot, and boom, the wall flashed with light. The system cheered that he'd unlocked Barrier-Breaking Expert and gave him another 2,000 points. A secret door opened up, and he stepped through into a hidden part of the tower called the Fantasy World. Instantly, The mana in the air felt way thicker, buzzing with mystery. Right after that, the system flexed again. He just unlocked Secret Explorer for finding a hidden floor, and this time they handed him a fat 5,000 points. Our MC was just standing there, grinning from ear to ear, thinking he finally found what he was after. Standing in the middle of a massive secret hall, he got ready to claim his big prize. Suddenly, a huge statue stared down at him and started booming out a challenge, asking if he was really good enough to prove himself among the tower climbers. Before he could even answer, a blinding light flashed and sucked him into a totally different scene. A beautiful garden full of flower fairies, all giggling and fluttering around like something out of a kid's storybook. But our MC wasn't fooled. He instantly remembered these cute things were actually C-rank monsters. They might look adorable, but once they saw a human, they turned into straight-up nightmares. Sure enough, they all launched at him at once. Sun Wu fired a magic beam and smacked one down, then started charging up his mana for the next blast, knowing he had to be quick or he'd be fairy food. He took out a couple more, making the rest freak out, but then he stopped attacking. Instead, he noticed a strange magic circle on the ground. Right on cue, he figured out the trick. Beating these monsters wasn't how you passed. What he needed was the one thing only he could do: crack the secret magic formulas. The dude activated his outsider benefits, and suddenly all the complicated formulas showed up in front of him like a cheat sheet. The words formed a message, basically asking him to prove he could solve them. Sun Wu grinned, already seeing the answer clear as day. He sent out a wave of magic, showing off his skills and passing the test like a true genius. The system threw him another massive reward. He unlocked Recognized by the Tower of Proof and banked a huge 10,000 points. Standing in front of the statue, our MC got hit with an S-rank trait called Tower Proof as a special blessing. And he finally scored the real treasures: a red dragon soul, a sweet magic book, and rare seeds and holy herbs. The system went nuts, announcing boosts to his magic, faster mana recovery, and stronger power. The guy was basically jumping for joy. His whole plan actually worked out perfectly. Outside, after taking the photo, Seo Jun suddenly stopped, saying there was something weird in that selfie they took. He told his friend to look closer at the background. Even though they were both smiling, there was some dude in a hat standing behind them, and his eyes looked black and seriously dangerous. Yongjun freaked out and asked if those creepy eyes could be a demonized human. Turns out, the man in the picture really was a demonized human, hiding in plain sight with those beast-like eyes. Somewhere in a dark alley, that demonized guy was stumbling around like he was in pain while the clock kept ticking closer to 9:30. Looks like the real trouble was just getting started, bro. Meanwhile, Sun Wu was still in disguise, sweating buckets while watching the street, and you could tell he was freaking out. The clock was ticking. The monster was here, but Seo Jun still hadn't shown up. Our MC kept thinking he could totally mess up the whole plot if he acted now, but if he didn't, people were going to die. Suddenly, the demonized guy came stumbling down the sidewalk, looking messed up. He bumped into some random student, and that poor kid turned around and asked if he was okay. But bro, before anyone could even blink, the monster just snapped and stabbed the student straight through the chest. Blood exploded everywhere. People started screaming while the kid hit the ground, clutching his chest and yelling in pain. Then, things got even crazier. Black smoke erupted all around the demonized man, blowing his clothes to pieces and showing off his freakishly huge muscles and wild demon energy. The monster was fully out, and everyone on the street finally realized how screwed they were. The demonized man turned to a girl nearby, and his shadow fell over her. People absolutely lost it, running and yelling for help, calling the police, anything. The whole block was in chaos. But our MC? He didn't waste a second. He ditched all that stick-to-the-script stuff and sprinted straight at the monster, thinking he had to save these people first, story or not. The look in his eyes was pure determination. Bro, he was ready to throw hands with a literal demon if that's what it took. Elsewhere, one of those special forces mage agents got a picture from Seo Jun and instantly knew they had a demonized human problem on their hands. He could see those black beast eyes and figured this was about to be a disaster. Yongjun confirmed the monster was close by, and the agent started running, thinking how this was the worst place for a fight. So many people around, and monsters like this only got stronger by eating blood. Right then, Seo Jun suddenly felt a wave of terrifying energy, like he knew something really bad was happening nearby. The agent felt a massive surge of mana too and ran even faster, heading straight for the chaos. Back at the scene, people were panicking, and a bunch were wondering out loud if they were even safe anymore. The demonized man stood right in front of the girl he was targeting, and she just froze, begging for her life. The monster raised his giant fist to smash her, but the girl ran away at full speed. Our hero realized the monster seriously wanted to catch her, and if he didn't stop this thing, more people would get hurt. So, he charged up his magic but knew he was way out of his league, a straight B-rank demon, bro. Charging in headfirst would just get him stomped. He decided to dump every bit of mana he had into one attack and tried to hit the monster right in its weak spot. He focused hard, aimed, and fired off a huge magic blast at the demon's head. There was a thunderous explosion, and for a second, he thought he nailed it. But then, when the smoke cleared, the monster's face was half burned but still standing. The face got burned, but the brain was definitely not. Sun Wu was screaming inside, realizing he'd just ticked off the monster without finishing the job. The demonized man roared and launched a counterattack, shooting purple energy everywhere. Sun Wu had no choice but to dodge for his life, barely keeping from getting wrecked. He smiled to himself, all bitter, knowing he had only one more trick up his sleeve. He activated his nature's heart power, and suddenly this blue light started pouring out of him. Dude's mana recovery speed just shot up by 1000% for 1 minute. This was his final boss mode. With a wild yell, Sun Wu charged up again, firing blue energy orbs as fast as he could. He told himself that if he couldn't kill this thing in 1 minute, he'd at least leave it halfway to hell. His attacks hammered the demon, blowing chunks out of it and rocking the whole street. The demonized man staggered from the blows, but Sun Wu kept it up, not letting a single second go to waste. The shot landed perfectly, and the monster howled in pain. He felt proud, thinking he might actually win if he kept this up. But just as he was getting cocky, the blue light faded away. He tried to power up again. Nothing. His mana was totally empty. 1 minute is over. Meanwhile, the demon started to recover, eyes glowing even scarier than before, and stalked towards him, ready to rip him apart. That's when the Special Forces agent burst onto the scene. In one clean move, the guy chopped off the monster's head. The demon's head hit the ground, and Sun Wu just stood there, mouth hanging open. Bro, he was not expecting backup to show up that fast. The agent walked over and announced that the danger was over. He thanked Sun Wu for his help, saying it made the job a lot easier, and then politely asked for his mage license to give him a reward. Sun Wu handed over his fake card like a pro, acting cool even though he was scared as hell that his disguise would be seen. The agent raised his eyebrows and said he thought Sun Wu would be at least rank B with skills like that, but the card said he was only rank C. Right then, Yongjun and Lee So-jun ran up, clearly shook from all the chaos. Sun Wu screamed internally, blaming Seo-jun for being late. While he was trying not to panic, So-jun kept staring at him, getting a weird look on his face. He then asked if he knew anyone named Kim Sun Wu, saying he was a student at the academy. Yongjun jumped in, saying the mage's face in front of him kind of looked like Sun Wu's, and asked if they were related. Sun Wu denied everything, acting like he'd never heard the name before in his life. The agent stepped in and told the students to quit bothering the mage and get out of the way. He thanked Sun Wu again for saving so many people. Seo-jun didn't stop staring, but Sun Wu kept his cool, telling the agent he was just doing his duty. He bowed, thanked the agent for saving his life, and dipped, trying not to let his nerves show. Bro, that was insanely close.